All right, let's talk about this whopper of a line. The Georgia Bulldogs are listed as a massive, massive favorite to defeat the Vanderbilt Commodores. Georgia coming off a 42-10 win, and that one touchdown that Auburn scored was kind of an amazing play by that player. But whatever. The Dogs are a 38.5 point favorite. This is one of the largest lines that Georgia's had. Uh, over the last 30 years, and I keep records back to 1993 of actual betting lines, and this is a big one. So I just off the jump, it's hard to it's kind of hard to take seriously a line like that, but Georgia has been up and down in all of these games lately, and in terms of the line, and to ask them to cover almost 40 points, I mean that's a lot. I mean that's just a significant number, and I don't know, like for instance, let's just go back in the very recent history. They did not cover against Kent State as a 45-point favorite. They did not cover against Samford as a 53-point favorite. They did not cover against Charleston Southern as a 52-point favorite. They were a 40-point favorite over Missouri. Did not cover. They did not cover a 49-point line against Murray State. They did not cover a 41-point line against Massachusetts. Against Austin Peay, they were a 46-point favorite. Did not cover. Obviously, they did not cover against Nicholls State as a 53-point favorite. You got to go all the way back to their game against Charleston Southern in 2014 to see the last time Georgia covered a line this big. And it's just not common. Over the last 14 games they played in the last 10 years where they've been this significant a favorite, they've only covered the line 3 times. That was the Troy game in 14, the Charleston Southern game in 14, and the Coastal Carolina game in 2011. That Coastal game was their first one of the year that year. They lost to Boise um, at the Dome, and then they lost to Carolina on a game that they outplayed South Carolina, but just lost the game. So we've not seen them lose a game like this. The closest they've come was against Nicholls State back in the day. The vast majority of times, teams do not score in the double digits. It just doesn't happen. So it's rare. Florida Atlantic scored 20 in 2012. Nicholls scored 24. Massachusetts scored 27. Murray State scored 17. And Kent State scored 22. Kent State was as decent a game besides the Nicholls State game that is in this category. You do not see Vanderbilt on this list. And there's a reason why, because Vanderbilt is a conference game, and you have to take conference games. To me, you have to take them seriously. That's me, but this Vanderbilt team really did stick around um, a week ago with Mississippi, who I, I've watched Vanderbilt enough this year to know that you know they have the capability to score if you are not a good defense. The problem with that is that Georgia is a good defense. I mean, like if you look at Vandy this season already, they've allowed 31 to Elon, they've allowed 45 to Wake Forest, which actually might not be that bad of a performance, quite frankly. I mean, Clemson allowed 48 or whatever it was. Vanderbilt then allowed 28 against Northern Illinois, 55 to Alabama, 52 to Mississippi. So I think the question here is Georgia going to hit 60? Because if Georgia hits 60, you have 20 points to play with. I do not think they will hit 60 myself. That's not 10 touchdowns, but it's not so far from that. And but I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think they're going to cover against this line. The biggest thing to me is Vanderbilt just allows way too many points. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today, 80 pages. We're going to have a second edition, a new cover coming out in the near future. If you like this cover the way it is, get it now. You also get, if you email me immediately, you will get Red Zone shirt. Our friends at Red Zone on Clayton Street downtown in Athens have been a great friend to the show. Um, and please go there this weekend. We will also be at Paloma Park from 4 to 7 this weekend. We had a pretty sizable crowd this past week. The Braves will be on while we're there, so you can listen to the Dogs, watch the Braves. Turn the volume down, listen to the Dog Post. So it'll be a fun weekend for homecoming. I'm not gonna get on this table. You can't see the table. It's a very nice wood table that my uncle Doyle made for me, and I appreciate him every day. I really that's not hyperbole. He is awesome, but he made it. I can't tilt the screen down, but I'm not gonna get on top of the table here to tell you that you should be betting this game. Um, I'm slightly uncomfortable with how big this line is, but a week ago with that line at 28 or 30, whatever you got it at, I mean, Georgia basically comfortably covered that line against Vanderbilt for Kirby Smart. Now, let's keep in mind that he lost as a 14-point favorite to Vanderbilt in 2016. Other than that, they've covered every single game that they played against Vanderbilt. They were a 17-point favorite in 2017. They won 45-14. Stick with me. They were a 26-point favorite um, at home against Vanderbilt. They won 41-13. I don't even remember that game. I'll be honest. I remember most Georgia games. I don't even remember that game. The season opener against Vandy, they were a 23-point favorite. They won that game by 24. Last year, they were a 36-point favorite on the road, and they won the game 62-0. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the future, but the Vanderbilt game from a season ago was a really important moment in Georgia's 2021 season. I know that sounds crazy, but it was we never saw JT start again after that game. That was step one. Step two of that game was that for me, and this doesn't matter to anyone else, but and believe I said it after the game. That was the moment I knew Georgia was very capable of winning the national championship. In fact, that was the moment I thought they were the number one team in the country. Um, I'm not sure I've had that moment yet this year. If I did, it was after the South Carolina game or after the Oregon game. It was not after the Auburn game because we kind of know by then. Um, and I'm not sure I could have that moment right now, but that's gonna be something I talk about in the future. But Vanderbilt's not stopping people, y'all, and um, in their games against ranked teams, against Vanderbilt, excuse me, against Wake Forest, Mississippi, and Alabama. I'm going to do the math real quick, but they're just not defending at all. And that this game is on the road, I don't think helps. I'm not sure it makes a giant difference, but we should expect Georgia to score 51 points in this game. And when you got the line at, what did I say it was 30? So that gives you some wiggle room. Vanderbilt could even score 10 points. They're not going to score 10 points. So they've showed that they can score against teams that are not great. Hawaii is bad. They scored 63. I don't think anybody's confusing Elon with being any good. They scored 42. They scored 38 on the road at Northern Illinois. They scored 28 against Ole Miss. I don't know what Ole Miss is doing, but I would take Georgia against the line. I'm not going to keep taking them against the line, y'all. I didn't take them against, I believe it was either Samford or Kent State, one of the two. But right now, they're playing too well, particularly defensively. I mean, this team has been so picky with who they're allowing to score. After the game, talking to Dumas Johnson after the game, and he was saying it was unacceptable what happened Saturday with Auburn getting in the end zone. Well, if you don't have that one kind of exceptional play from the Auburn player, they don't score. Obviously, Missouri scored a touchdown. Georgia's really probably this gonna sound strange. Georgia's probably not going to really be in trouble until you see someone score 2 or 3 touchdowns in a game. Now, Tennessee did that last year. They scored twice in the first half. Um, Touchdowns. Missouri scored a touchdown. I'm trying to think if, Kent State scored, I think, maybe two touchdowns. So Georgia's just not permitting people into the end zone. And that to me is why you take Georgia. If you're, you know, if you must pick this game, that's why I would take the dogs, because I just, these backdoor covers, they're not happening with regularity anymore. It doesn't seem like with Georgia. I mean, they got the game against Carolina, total blowout. Auburn, total blowout. The game against the Ducks, total blowout. They cover against Auburn, obviously. So they're 3-2 against the line. Is that right? Or are they 3-3? They got to be 3-3. Um, but I just don't. I don't think right now that. Well, I would say they're 3-2 because they didn't play the full game against Samford. But whatever, you could give them a loss there too. I think in these bigger games, and I would not call Vanderbilt a big game, they tend to play better. And of course, this game's not on the road. I'd take the dogs, but I'm not jumping down up and down about this one.